And Thomas, I want to warn people that if you're Pollyanna and you don't want to hear about scenarios that are possible that we might be confronting here. Um, have a nice weekend. Thomas, welcome back.
Thank you. A little
Good,
mix up
good
with
to,
the calendar there.
yeah,
On
that's
my part,
okay.
sorry, it was completely my mistake.
Well, there's a lot going on. I think Monday, there's a lot of stress out there. And I actually, this morning, I went to your Substack page and read what you wrote about. And that's why I'm telling people that if, negative things that potentially we're headed for bothers them to go away
Yeah,
because, that's most pessimistic I've heard you or your writings been since I've known you, and that's several years now. So, why don't we start off with um, what you wrote and that you've come to the conclusion that there is a force. Um, I use the analogy someone asked you about Spectre,
yeah,
uh, right? So, the kind of, the hub of conspiracy of the man behind the curtain, which has been going on for a long time. I mean, you could go all the way back to the Rothschilds in Europe and
yeah.
all of that, and Trilateral Commission, and I've been hearing about this my whole career. Uh, who's the new global leader, Thomas?
I don't know.
Has
The
he
thing is that
presented himself yet?
no. I like I come from an angle of a macroeconomic empiricist.
Hmm.
So basically, what it means that we go where the data goes, and it was like, well, actually, the attacks in Israel on the 7th of October, like I don't. My friend served several tours in the Middle East, UN intelligence as an officer. He told me many years ago that nothing in and around Israel happens without the Mossad knowing.
Yeah.
So now they try to explain to us that they practiced with these gliders to strike on Israel, and Mossad and Shin Bet would have not known. I don't believe it. And Egypt even warned them 3 days prior. So, then I started to think that what is why is there it's everything is just we're on a path, it seems, of escalation.
Yeah.
And there are like so many kind of circumstantial evidence pointing to the fact that okay, now uh, there is really strange things happening that shouldn't happen. But one of the, like, coming from a macroeconomic empiricist background, one of the crucial pieces of information, what we always look for when we analyze a time series, is a structure. And there's like this thing called the stochastic trend process, which says that something, a major factor lacking from our analysis, it drives the series. And the series, it creates a random walk. It goes where it may, basically.
Right.
And one of the principal, like, methods or principles in analyzing a time series is that if there is a systematic error somewhere, it's not an error, it's a structure. It's just something you missed. And like I talk about this often with my good friend Martin Enlund, who was the chief currency strategist at Nordea Bank for several years. And we talk about this several times that if there seems to be an error from many political leaders to the direction which is not beneficial for any Western country as a whole. And this ranges from all kinds of stuff from economic policies to immigration policies, everything. So there is this systematic thing, and because it's systematic, it hints that there is a structure, and because there's a structure, it's something that we're not seeing. So we're not seeing it in the political front. So we are basically this led me to the conclusion that there has to be some force behind it. Kind of like this, statistical
Well,
thinking.
have you
Taken a
read
bit
the
further.
Fourth Turning?
Yeah, no, yeah, know about it. I haven't read it, but I
Okay.
know
All
about
right.
it.
Well, anyway, it's not, it's not conspiracy. It's a economic model.
Mm,
Also, you know, people have been talking about the Great Reset since COVID.
yeah,
It's what you're coming around to is there's a force behind this Great Reset, which a lot of people believe is a World Economic Forum, and but they're just the puppets, whoever's
yeah,
pulling the strings
yeah.
on them. So, are you a believer that perhaps war is also part of the Great Reset to cause a lot of grief
I think
and people to submit?
yeah, I think the Great Reset is something like what would be a correct word for it? It's kind of a play that is played, uh, which is semi-visible to us. But I don't think it's a concept. But
Yeah,
behind is something else. The thing that really got me thinking is that this systematic cycle of escalation, now visible again in Ukraine,
right,
completely useless attack on the Kursk oblast
right.
or region, and now killing of I forgot the names, but the Hamas leader
Yeah.
and the other guy in
In the
uh,
middle of peace talks,
yeah,
which he was a
it makes absolutely
negotiator.
no sense. Makes absolutely
Yeah.
no sense.
Hmm.
So there is this, and our base scenario came in October that there is a deepening cycle of escalation. Even there might be a pauses on it, it's deepening, and this is the scenario that currently holds. So we are going deeper and deeper into escalation. Personally, I do worry what happens after Sunday when the Olympics end.
Okay.
It's just like the Ukraine war started after the Peking Winter Olympics ended, 2 days after, and
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
And Putin went to China during those Olympics.
yeah, he
Yeah,
did,
I
and now
remember that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
now we enter a period where there the U.S. presidential elections are coming,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Democrats and those who they want to keep the status quo, let's say,
Yeah.
and I think it's a very precarious era which we now enter. I wrote like 2 weeks ago that one of my worries now is that myself and our firm GNS Economics, we have missed something, and there will be an actual black swan event somewhere in the world. It's probably caused. It is man-made. So someone does something really exceptional, and everybody got scared and gets scared, and things start to move from their own. But the
How about
point
this,
being,
Tom? How about this? Let me lay one on you.
yeah,
Um, the recent problem that we had with that program from CrowdStrike
mhm,
that disabled a lot of things, businesses, disrupted things.
yeah,
And now Israel is preparing its citizenry to be prepared to be without power while they're in the bunkers for
yeah,
days or weeks
mhm,
um, coming up when this um, expands and Hezbollah attacks.
mhm,
And that perhaps there's some type of event again with the internet.
mhm,
And if Israel goes through their internet, their power grid or internet being taken down, and it
mhm.
happens here, they'll be finger pointing at Iran,
Of course.
and that is
Russia
the
too.
red
Iran
red
and Russia.
line.
Yeah.
What do you
Mhm.
think?
It's possible. I don't.
Am I crazy? I
No,
mean,
no,
you
no.
know,
These are. I think these are plausible scenarios. We just don't, because this is a game now, a big geopolitical, chess game, if you may. It mostly played in the shadows. It's just I think what they choose, if we assume that they exist, this dark force, depends on what happens on the ground. How can they manipulate people? What will people believe and all that? So I'm just writing a piece which basically says that NATO has just two options in Ukraine. Either they silently go into the peace agreement, like saying that
yeah,
suddenly you wake up and New York Times says peace in Ukraine and that's it. There's so much political capital invested to the war in Ukraine and Russia losing that there will be no conferences and it just quietly goes away. And the second is that they need such a massive escalation that it will draw other NATO countries, or they will agree that they need to start defending Ukraine and take troops there and even start war against Russia. And I can only think one such drastic escalation, and it's a nuclear detonation in Europe, in Ukraine. That's the
okay.
absolute
I
truth.
just brought that up during face
Okay.
when Ryan was talking about escalation. I said because that's been hanging out there and threats about it for a long time. The
Yeah.
use of a tactical nuke, because
Yep.
I talked to this one guy, Harold Milgram,
Mm.
who knew Putin and said that the way he de-escalates is by escalating. He
Yeah.
escalates to de-escalate,
Mm.
and that would have people needing to change their diapers all over the world if he did something like that.
But the thing here is that there is like no need for Russia to escalate. It's winning the war. It's practically gone. So why would they escalate in a way? I'm thinking that if it happens, it will be a false flag from
Right.
NATO. And this is, of course, for many, this
Oh
sounds like
wow.
a batshit crazy idea. But
Yeah.
again, if we
Well,
assume that,
everything. It's Rod Serling time, man. You ever watch Twilight Zone?
yeah, yeah, of course, as a very young child, but still.
Aren't don't you feel like we're living in an episode that even Rod Serling couldn't write?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and
Uh,
X-Files. Of course, I grew watching that in the teenage years.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, but I
yeah.
think that the one we have to come back to the possibility there is this dark force, and they want to escalate massively because of divide et impera. So if there is this force,
Okay, yeah.
I think the only aim I can think they would have is to create such a massive chaos that they could install some kind of global control mechanism or mechanisms. That could be the aim.
How
I don't
about
know.
someone steps up and war breaks out, but there's a peacemaker?
Yeah, that's the other option. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, mm. And we just that what how this comes to forecasting and all the stuff you are doing is that if there is such a force, it means that we are going into an era of extreme volatility and possibly market crashes. And if there's one thing I can show, if you give me the screen, I saw just
Yeah,
one thing regarding to this.
you got it.
Yeah. So one thing, it's this. So like when there was this, you see this? I hope.
Yes.
Yeah. So when there was this, you know, this flash crash, basically of global asset markets. It's just we
Markets.
had
Yeah.
been anticipating it
Okay.
since April because the liquidity withdrawal will happen in July usually. So, but okay, if it passed, there was a massive bailout. It has to have been because it bounced the next day, like on Tuesday. It made absolutely no sense in Nikkei. So central banks stepped in. But let's say that this kind of cycle of escalation deepens, and then the recession signals from the US are very strong, are getting stronger. I think they will become very strong in let's say fall, October. And
Okay.
you remember when what happened when there was a liquidity withdrawal from a massive bubble and then a recession signals happening at the same time. What happened last time in the US and when?
Oh, you're talking about the housing crash?
No, actually the 1921,
Oh,
29
all the
trade
way
crash.
back.
Yeah. And
Okay. All right.
I will publish a piece on it maybe next week or something. But
Nice.
this is
Okay.
like this is a forecast of global money supply. It comes from Bank of Japan, of Japan, Euro area, US, United Kingdom, and China. So we track them and we forecast. This dotted line is a forecast. And you see there's a quite a heavy drop in April, which well, it didn't manifest as bad as it could have in the markets.
Yeah, we
But
had a
there's
little pullback,
yeah,
nothing major. Yeah.
but this big one here forecasted is the October figure.
Okay.
And this is the point. Like in 2022 and past year, there was a market downdraft. And now if we assume there's a recession, there is some kind of possibly a major escalation, liquidity withdrawal at the same time. It's really difficult to see any other end result of that than a crash and a massive, even bigger central bank bailout after that. But Japan is in massive trouble. They need to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I just want to all the people in your community to think the possibility that there is this cycle of escalation which some forces is driving, and it is not like benevolent. So it will affect the global, let's say within the next 12 months,
Yeah.
it will have a massive impact on the markets. And if you just go to this era without even giving a thought to this, you are flying blind. We have to accept the possibility there is such a force, and it will try to drive the world into a chaos and thus the markets into a chaos. So there are many different ways how this can go. But if you do not accept the possibility, considering all that has happened, you are flying blind. And I don't think your investment career will be very successful without you at least considering this option.
Yeah. Well, you saw what happened to the VIX this week,
Yeah,
historical. And
yeah,
and that's a sign of a broken market that it did
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and then gave it all back.
yeah.
So very unusual move. I always argued that the VIX wasn't broken, but actually, Thomas, and I've told a lot of people this, I was long VIX calls, and I
Mm.
had $40 intrinsic value, and they would not um, do a trade up there. They would
Yeah.
only give you
What?
four
Why is that?
bucks
Why is that?
because it was rigged. They wouldn't make a
Yeah.
market
Yeah.
in
Okay.
VIX options.
Yeah.
They stopped making a market. There were certain brokerages were also not working at
Mm.
that time. You couldn't get in. Some people were having trouble.
Yeah. I read
Anyway,
about. Yeah.
that's a real rigged game. They killed a lot of people,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, if they didn't act and they were in concert with each other, they didn't have to cover their short positions in options because they didn't trade them,
Mm.
or in some of the derivative products of the VIX, they got bailed out.
Yeah.
They got bailed out.
Yeah.
That's not capitalism. That's a managed market that it was unmanageable, or that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
In the first place, we wouldn't have seen a VIX 60 with a 10% sell off in equities.
Yeah.
That's not commensurate with that kind of move in the VIX, a
Yeah.
10% move in stocks. So there's something wrong, and your liquidity argument is something I've been kind of feeling by just watching markets before we started selling off, Thomas,
Mm.
in mid July.
Mm.
I put out a tweet and I go, does anyone else think the market's acting strange?
Mm.
Barely trading. Normally you're getting flashes every second, continual trading, and
Mhm.
there were pauses in trading. And the TLT isn't a chart anymore; it's dots. Okay, they don't even put. You don't even get a full candle.
Oh man.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of stuff out there that doesn't pass the smell test. I appreciate your courage for coming out and talking about what you see and believe and uh, building the case for it. And you're an economist. You're not that guy. Who is it? You're not Alex Jones
No,
trying
no.
for clicks. You're
Mm.
just trying to warn people to be careful.
Yeah, yeah, and like it's not been easy to go down this rabbit hole, but
No,
that's where the
no,
data leads. But
no.
the one thing I want to say about this October thing still is that we currently consider that we may see a repetition of March 2020 with
Hmm.
massive crash and then even a
Yeah.
bigger bailout by central banks. So that is kind of what we are learning our customers to be prepared of. Something
Okay.
like that. So that I think we need to keep that possibility in mind. That this was just a dress rehearsal.
Okay. And so, how about the VIX foreshadowing what's going to happen in October by being so erratic?
Yeah,
That's kind of a foreshadowing of what's going to happen in the fall.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
with you. One more
yeah,
high in the market, three drives to the top.
yeah. And
I'm all over. I'm going to pretend. I think this September or so, I'm going to start pretending I'm Jesse Livermore. All
how
right.
what like
I'm going to start legends of a stock operator,
okay,
or stories of a stock operator. I'm going to start thinking I'm him. And
yeah.
he was short. He made a lot of money on the crash in that time period you're talking about in the
Yeah,
20s.
yeah,
That's
and
what
the
he
thing
did.
is that with the 1921, the 29, the first signs of recession came in July. The industrial production
Reminisce.
index of the Fed dipped the first time, and now we had the really horrible ISM numbers from the
Yeah.
US just a few
Yeah.
weeks ago. So I was immediately, you know, something similar might be happening. So this is, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Real estate's going to surprise people too. Everyone has all their money
yeah.
tied up in real estate. Now they have a lot of equity,
Mhm.
untapped equity that they should tap. Don't you think they should tap it?
Well,
Tap that
no,
equity? I mean,
no,
people
and
have,
use it as a leverage. No, then you
huh?
you will face terrible margin calls.
Okay.
I
Uh,
I would be warning against it, but I don't know. It's
yeah.
just
So
because
you just let the price depreciate by 50%. And
no,
that would only
yeah,
take
but
it back to
if you no, but
pre-COVID.
if you sell it, then it's a different thing, of course. But I don't did I understand
All right.
correctly what you meant. But anyways,
All right. Anyway, thanks for cheering us all up. I know people say
yeah,
that to you. It gives a lot of food for thought. And I'm thinking, Thomas, that even if you make a lot of money, the kind of narrative that you're talking about is kind of where we're headed, but the force it's taking us probably isn't even going to matter.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's complete control. I guess you could take, there's going to be all kinds of things like, after this crash, maybe that ushers in the central bank digital currency and
Yeah,
more. That's part of the plan.
yeah, that could come, and
And
I
the
think
dollar, the dollar, according to my work, even though it's trying to hold, has broken down. That's the dollar has spoken,
yeah.
so that's a big deal.
No, yeah, but just ending words here that just be careful what happens after Sunday. If nothing, like if we arrived early October, nothing happened, then I think we dodged a bullet. But I just urge everyone to be cautious because black swans may appear or something other drastic. So it's a very precarious period. As an history freak, I know it. My mom is actually a retired lecturer of history in the society, so we've been talking about this.
Yeah, so we've this cycle is rhyming only on steroids, right? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Well, basically, yeah, and just I'm talking more about actual events in the real world than in markets. There's something. It's a precarious period. You know, something very drastic can happen in Europe or in the Middle East, or you know. So that's what I'm saying. Just be careful. Surprises may
Okay.
come.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming here and being a watchman for us. And
Glad to.
people coming from different methodologies are coming to the same conclusion from all different planes.
Mm,
Economic, spiritual. They're all basically saying the same thing.
yes, I
So
agree.
that's interesting. That it's on all levels, and this is where you could find Thomas's article if you want to read his stuff and subscribe. Here you go. And it's not, what I like about your writing is that, you know, you get right to the point. I don't
Mm,
have to read a chapter.
yeah.
You get it done. Uh, your words mean something, and you say it without beating around the bush. So
Yeah,
this
that's
is
that's
just,
the Finnish way. Thank you.
yeah. Is it really okay? And this is a disclaimer saying that in case everything is turns out to be wonderful and we end up in nirvana
Mm.
over the next 12 months, that you can't hold Thomas responsible for things working out.
No,
Okay?
we just were. Yeah.
Don't blame him if everything's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah. Thanks.
there's guys that see things that, we talk about.
Mm.
We wish.
Yeah,
We're hoping we're wrong.
yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Absolutely. So,
All right. Well, great talking to you, buddy.
thanks. Likewise.
All right. Stay safe. We'll be talking in November is
Yeah,
when the
sounds good.
rotation comes up. So that'll be,
Then
into
we
the
know.
yeah, we'll know. Time will tell.
That will tell.
Tincture tincture of time. All right,
Yep.
buddy.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Thomas Malinin, everybody. You could follow him on X at MT Malinin. Read him. And I hope everyone had a good week. That's going to be it. And hope you have a great weekend. Recharge, and we'll see what either Raina. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome, Laura. Thanks again, Thomas. Don't just count your pips, count your blessing. Yeah, ending note. Then we know, Khalid. All right, adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.